Okay, so continuing on from the previous stuff, we're now going to be trying to factorize, but this time there are going to be sometimes some negatives. So there's going to be a mixture of positives and negatives. Now it's the same kind of idea. We always want to think of something that is going to multiply to give this number and to add to give this number that we've got here. You just have to be a lot more careful this time. So if they're going to multiply to 8, positive 8, but they're going to add to something that is negative, the only option is for both of them to be negative. If they're multiplying to a positive, they're either going to be a positive and a positive or a negative and a negative, but these would never add to give you a negative number. So there definitely has to be two negatives that we have for this. So when you think about the number 8 and we're wanting it to multiply to positive 8, it could either be negative 1 and negative 8, or it could be negative 2 and negative 4, but we want them to add to minus 6. These add to minus 9. These are the ones that add to minus 6. So when we write this out, we don't write x plus minus 2. We just write down x minus 2 and x minus 4. Okay, so the next one, we want them to multiply to 20, but add to minus 9. If they're going to multiply to a positive, but they're going to add to a negative, they both need to be negative. So it could be minus 1 and minus 20, it could be minus 2 and minus 10, or it could be minus 4 and minus 5. Now the one that is going to add to minus 9 is the bottom one. The top one adds to minus 21, and this adds to minus 12. So minus 4 minus 5 is minus 9. Remember, you can always check these things on your calculator. You can do minus 4 minus 5. Yep, it does go to minus 9. When I say add, because if you add them, you still get the same thing. When you add a negative, it's the same as just subtracting it. So we're going to get a minus 4, a minus 5. Now these two look very, very similar to each other, so we need to try and work out how they're different. This time they're multiplying to a negative, but adding to a positive. Well, if they multiply to a negative, that means one needs to be plus and one needs to be minus. Remember, if something gives you a negative, it's going to either be these two multiplying or these two multiplying, and it's going to be multiplying to minus 6. So let's write down the things that multiply to give minus 6. Well, you could have 1 and minus 6, minus 1 and 6, 2 and minus 3, or minus 2 and 3. Now for this one, we want to find the ones that add to 1. Remember, there's like an imaginary kind of 1 in front of that. This adds to minus 5. This adds to positive 5. This adds to minus 1. And this one adds to 1. Minus 2 plus 3 is 1. So the one that we want for this first question is minus 2 and 3. It is going to be y minus 2 and y plus 3. Just double check it. That multiplies to minus 6, and minus 2 plus 3 is 1. Now very quickly we can tell what this one is going to be, because we wanted it to multiply to minus 6, so it's all of this stuff. We want it to add to minus 1, so it's the 2 and the minus 3. So it's going to be an x and a positive 2, sorry, a y and a positive 2, and a y and a negative 3. Look how similar these answers look, but they are different because these look different too. Okay, so we're thinking now of something that multiplies to minus 14 but adds to 5. So it's either going to be 1 and negative 14, or negative 1 and 14, or it's going to be 2 times 7. So one might be negative, or that one might be negative. We want it to add to 5. This one's going to go to minus 5. This one is going to be 5. 7 take away 2 is 5. So we're going to be using this one at the bottom, and it's going to be, don't know why it says Y here. It should say C, of course. I must have been very tired when I made this one. And so we're going to say that it is C minus 2 and C plus 7. And then our last one that we've got here on this page, we're going to do numbers that multiply to 12. So negative 12, it's either going to be, let's just write down the pairs and see if we can work out what it would be. It would be 1 times 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4. And we want it to add to a negative 4. Well, I think if I put the negative here on this one, I would have 2 take away 6, and that one would work. So you can kind of find the numbers and decide which one needs it rather than writing all of them out. So we're definitely going to want to use the 2 and minus 6 because that's going to add up correctly. So it's going to be x plus 2, x minus 6. Okay, let's keep going. So I want to think of two numbers that multiply to 16 but add to minus 8. Well, that means they both need to be negative. So it's either going to be negative 1 and negative 16. Nope. negative 2 and negative 8. No, that adds to minus 10, or it could be minus 4 and minus 4. So it's going to be x minus 4, which of course we could write in a different way. We could write as x minus 4 squared. Okay, two numbers that multiply to a positive 18 but add to a negative. Well, they're definitely going to be negative then. So you've got either this, or you have got this, or you have got this. The ones that are going to add to minus 9 are the bottom ones. So it's going to be a minus 3, a minus 6. You can see I'm getting a little bit quicker now. So negative 45 and 12. Well, let's just think about negative 45. Let's quickly write down the factors and then we'll decide which one we want to make positive. So it could be 1 and 45, it could be 5 times 9, or it could even be 3 times 15. I think those are all the factors. Now, if I put a negative on one of these, I'd get something to do with 44. I'd either get 44 or minus 44. And if I put a negative here, I would get 4. If I put a negative here, I'd get minus 4, so that's not going to work. So because I want it to be positive 12, I'm going to do the 15 with the minus 3. 15 minus 3 is 12, so it's going to be y plus 15, y minus 3. Okay, this one's written in a funny order, so let's correct the order. It's x squared minus 8x minus 20. So I'm thinking of two things that multiply to minus 20, but they add to minus 8. Well, let's just do the normal things that multiply to 20, either 1 and 20, 2 and 10, or 4 and 5, and then we'll decide where the negative could go that would create a minus 8. Well, I think this one is going to have something to do with 8, because it's either going to be 10 take away 2 or 2 take away 10. 2 take away 10 is the thing that's going to give me a negative 8. So it's going to be a 2 and a negative 10. It's going to be x plus 2, x take away 10. Again, this one needs the order correcting. It's n squared minus 12n plus 27. Okay, so for 27, it's going to be two negatives. I think it's just going to be minus 3 and minus 9. Yeah, that's going to give me minus 12. So it's going to be n minus 3 and n minus 9. I've gone a little bit quicker on that. Last one, let's do the order correct. That's a squared minus 175a plus 7,500. Now, you don't want to work out all of the factors of this. You need to try and think of two numbers that multiply to this but add to give this. The two numbers are going to be 100 and 75, negative 100 and negative 75 if I'm actually being more accurate, because 100 times 75 is 7,500. Sorry, negative times a negative gives you positive this, and minus 100 minus 75 is minus 175. So, pretty difficult, but you've got to be really organised when you do these. Pause them here and have a go. If you want to do more practice, you can go to the link in the description where there are some worksheets linked as well. Okay, so this one here, two numbers that multiply to 5 but add to minus 6. They should be minus 1 and minus 5. Two numbers that multiply to 12, again, I've made a silly mistake here. I should have said a y. Two numbers that multiply to 12 but add to minus 7. It is going to be y minus 4, y minus 3. They multiply to 12 and they add to minus 7. Multiplying to 9 but adding to minus 6. It is going to be a negative 3 and a negative 3, which you could write as x minus 3 squared. They multiply to 9 and they add to minus 6. Okay, so we want two things to multiply to minus 6 but add to 5. Well, it's either going to be something to do with a 2 and a 3 or a 1 and a 6. And remember, you're going to make one of these things negative. So I want them to add to 5. Well, if one of these is negative, we're only going to either get 1 or minus 1. So I'm going to look at this one. I'm actually going to make the 1 negative. So it's going to be x minus 1, x plus 6. I don't often write out all the combinations. I think, okay, well, if I'm subtracting, this one would have something to do with 1, and this would have something to do with 5. Great, I'll put the negative over there to make it positive 5x when I add them. Okay, so I want them to add to minus 20, multiply to minus 20 and add to a. I'm going to go straight in with the answer. It's going to be a minus 5, a plus 4. This one is slightly different, so you're going to get the opposite. You're going to get a plus 5 and a minus 4. Two numbers that multiply to minus 18 but add to negative 7. It is going to be minus 9 and plus 2. Negative 18 minus 9 plus 2 is minus 7. This one needs an ordering, so it's going to be x squared plus x minus 110. Now, 110, I think it's just going to be 11 times 10. So I'm going to say 11 times 10, because that's going to be great for adding to 1. I'm going to say that it is x plus 11 and x minus 10, because 11 times by minus 10 is minus 110, and 11 take away 10 is just the 1x that we've got here. So these are going to require a lot of practice, because you need to be really good at knowing about your multiplication factors and what things add together as well. You need to be really good with positives and negatives. Found this video helpful? Then why not drop it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. If you'd like the next video in the playlist, you can click here to be taken straight to it. And as always, wishing you the very best for all your studies.